There, Trekkies. Your favorite Klingon penguin Bob here. And I've been noticing, if you haven't been noticing yourself the last few weeks, been some announcements of canceling Star Trek shows by Paramount. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that, what our thoughts are on it, and in particular, what one specific article even mentions about it. And let's discuss that stuff, so stay tuned. Keep your heavy frequencies open, because you don't want to miss this. In the last few weeks, or even months, I've noticed a trend that some of the Star Trek shows out there from Paramount have been recently canceled. The most latest one is one called Star Trek Prodigy, which was made in conjunction with Nickelodeon to introduce kids into Star Trek. I'll be honest with you, kind of missing that one's going to be canceled because I really like that one a lot. Anyway, I found an article here from Giant Freaking Robot that discusses this a little more in depth, and I thought we'd go through it and talk about it. Because there are several shows that have been canceled, and I'm wondering why. Why is all of a sudden these shows being canceled from Star Trek, especially if Paramount and everybody claims that Star Trek is so successful right now? And by the way, that's penguin sarcasm. That why are they being canceled? Well, I guess it's because they aren't necessarily that popular, and that they're trying to change directions. Paramount is. It starts out as last week CBS announced they were canceling the animated series Star Trek Prodigy. A few weeks prior, we learned that Star Trek Discovery, which I don't really care for, would be canceled after entering the fifth season. And of course, Star Trek Picard, which was awesome with Terry Matalas, that wasn't canceled, but it just came to its logical run after 3 seasons because the lead in that, obviously, Patrick Stewart, getting really up there in age, and he can't really continue to do a 7-year, series run. Anyway, to some people, ending one show and canceling 2 others in such close proximity indicates a franchise in trouble. It very well may be. In reality, it's a sign that the franchise is finally getting a clue. Finally getting on track. And I agree with his sentiment here. Star Trek Discovery was terrible. Oh, my goodness, don't get me started on how bad it was. I know it. You know it. Even the Twitter bots that they were hired to tell us all the time how great this show was with Mikey Spock and everything and how wonderful she was. And it was not anything closely related Trek that I even recognized. Star Trek Prodigy was not terrible, and I agree, it wasn't. It was at times pretty good, but suffered from the kinds of logical errors you expect from a kid's show, because the kid's show is what it's supposed to be. Yes, it felt like it was made for kids, but at times some of the plots were a little bit more grown up even. Ultimately, not the quality of the show was the problem with Star Trek Prodigy. It was intended to be a kid's show to introduce kids into Star Trek. But adults were mostly the ones watching it. The plots weren't quite kid-friendly enough for kids, and not quite adult enough for adults, which is somewhere in the middle. What that meant was that you weren't really reaching the kids that are supposed to be watching it, and the adults were kind of getting bored because the plots weren't as adult Trekkish as they should be. Either way, it was still kind of a fun show, I thought. Both Discovery and Prodigy were products of a different era of Star Trek production. Since then, Paramount has started hiring better people, though. They brought in talented, real Star Trek fans who actually know something about the franchise and know which direction to take it. Now, in most of these shows, I don't know if I agree with this completely, but I do know for a fact that when they brought in Terry Matalas to work on Star Trek Picard, especially Star Trek Picard Season 3, Terry Matalas has worked on previous Star Trek. He worked on Star Trek Enterprise. He was involved in DS9 and even Voyager. So he knew Star Trek. Best of all, if you've ever watched anything that Terry Matalas says publicly, he is a Star Trek fan. And I would love for them to make his show that he wants to make the legacy show. # Terry Trek. So Terry Matalas, a hardcore Star Trek and science fiction fan, with a history in the genre. Matter of fact, if you may know him even from shows like 12 Monkeys and Nikita and a few other shows he's been involved with. They're all in the science fiction realm. So he's a science fiction geek just like you and me. He's a real Trekkie. Somehow he managed to change from the worst Star Trek series of all time, Star Trek Picard, to one of the very best, to a swan song to the Generation crew, which I absolutely loved it. I've watched it twice through already and starting even a third time here pretty soon. I can't get enough of it. It's just so good. Then there's Star Trek Strange New Worlds. The creative team is still partially run by the team that piloted Discovery. So there's times that I've noticed that in this series, especially during season 1, that there was episodes that were okay. Then there's other episodes it felt like Discovery all over again. This season seems to be changing a little bit. I mean, for example, if you've seen season 2, no spoilers here. Season 2, episode 2, the one about they put Una on trial for being a Lyrian. That one, in my opinion, is a very good episode. And I'm starting to see a little bit of a change with the writers in this series. It is definitely had a TOS feel to it, which is good in my opinion. At least maybe somewhere somebody at Paramount's finally getting a clue. We'll just have to hold our breath to see if things get better or not. The Star Trek Strange New Worlds is a total 180 for Star Trek Discovery. It seeks out new worlds and tries to recapture the positivity and sense of real discovery that the original series brought back before. And they have been trying to be a little more upbeat and hopeful. Anson Mount is awesome as Captain Pike. I like him. I like him as an actor, but I also like him in the role as Pike. Star Trek is headed in a new direction, hopefully a better direction. I don't know if it's completely there yet, but I think I'm seeing some minor slight changes going on. And maybe that's what all this is about, why Prodigy and Discovery got canceled, because maybe they don't fit in this new reworking of what it is that Paramount's going to be making as Star Trek. Their budgets are better well spent, being poured into projects that work, projects that might be a success. Like I'm hoping that the Star Trek Legacy series with Terry Matalas as showrunner gets lit, because if so, that could make them a ton of money. Into my brain, it's a no-brainer. Just do it, Paramount. Come on. This little tricky penguin knows what he's talking about. I would like to see Star Trek get back to its roots. The vision that Gene Roddenberry had, that OG Star Trek still holds through with. TOS, TAS, Enterprise, DS9, Voyager, TNG, all of them. And even like with Star Trek Picard Season 3 that Terry Matalas brought back, I think that reason why I like it so much, because it had that Gene Roddenberry feel to it of what really Star Trek is. Okay, so there you have it, Trekkie fans. Your favorite Klingon, Klingon Bob here. And I want to know what your thoughts are. If you liked what I said here, I hope you give me a like and maybe subscribe. If not, then I thank you for your time, and I hope that you enjoyed this little message from a little penguin niece talking about Star Trek. Anyway, I would really love to hear your comments on what you really think. So please put a little comment down at the bottom of this video and let me know what you think, so we can have a little discussion, a little dialogue going on about Trek. I love talking about Trek. Anyway, I will talk to you guys later, and the transporter beam is lighted up, and live long and prosper. Penguin Equities out.